I myself organizing an energy and environment workshop. It's now more than 25 years ago I established, and we are still running up that workshop series also, mostly for PhD students attending. We have some 20, 30 people, PhD students attending up there. So many forums we have, and therefore it would be nice if you could take part in all of
Okay. Thank you for the information, Professor Farkas. Yeah, maybe we can arrange some.
Maybe I will mention
to join
again in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Dr. Dani Izwan.
Thank you. Hello.
You are here, yeah?
Dani, I can't see you. Just
everything is okay with you, Professor?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. In the early morning, I call you.
Good morning, Dani.
Okay, Professor Harabik. Hello. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Everything is okay in Nitra, Professor Harabik?
Yes, everything is fine in Poland. So thank you very much for organizing this event.
Okay. Thank you also. You have joined in this conference, yeah? I hope this is, yes, can arrange for the long time. Yeah, for the long. Okay.
Good morning for everybody. Hello, Dani.
Okay.
Hello.
Dr. Seres. Hello. Good, hello.
Hello, Professor Seres.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, yes.
How are you, Professor?
Thank you very much, and I would like to say thank you for the invitation. It's very nice to be with you. Thank you.
As usual, I know you are very busy.
I'm afraid, Dani, that everybody is busy during this period.
Sorry, I just completed 3 meetings in this morning, Professor. But it's okay. It's okay.
I myself used to say that if somebody asking what should I do, what should I wish, how could solve this when we are pressed in time always, I said I would need a kind of time extension instrument. That would be nice. No, but unfortunately, can't.
So today is special day, yeah. You came here, Professor. You came here, Seres, yeah, and we can Susanna. I think Susanna.
Nicely organized that we have in a more comfortable time.
Yes.
I mean local time.
Yeah.
So this is our normal time to start the day.
This is the unique event, Professor.
Thank you very much. And one of my PhD students asked me that, what time will start that one? Local? Or I said that, no, it's Bandung time, Indonesian time. But I said to him that, don't worry, a little bit earlier, but a young people like you, quite easy to wake up. So a little bit earlier. He said, yes, definitely.
Okay, Pak Jono, I don't know.
Okay. Mr. T, can we start
this event, right? Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, coming up to the next season, we are going to have an opening remark from FOITIC International Chair, Professor Izwan Farkas from Hungarian University of Agriculture and Life Science. Well, now to Professor Izwan Farkas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm checking again that if you can watch me, and also the video is good, and also the voice is good. Is that right?
It's clear. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. So it is really an extremely nice day to be here again in the third time in the course of the FOITIC conference program. And first of all, I would like officially greet all the people locally in Bandung, the ITENAS, especially the dean of the faculty, Dr. Yono Suhartono, and who is with us personally. I mean personally, virtually, and also in the morning it was much too early for us to attending the official opening when the rector of the institute was definitely present, Professor Melinda Banasari, and special greetings to Dani, Dr. Dani Ruchiravan, who is the vice rector, and who was initiated at this conference series. And now it's third time he was organizing, and with the help of the faculty, with the help of the people. And congratulations for that. So therefore, we are very happy to join again. And the great thing is that this time it was extended in a bit because the more people attending, we have more challenging idea we can get it. So I just would like to very shortly remind that the first meeting was organized in 2017. So it means now it's 4 years ago. And then in that time, I still remember, I was personally attending, so I was so happy for that invitation. I did that job with a great pleasure. The main theme was in that time towards reliable, renewable, and sustainable energy systems, challenges and opportunities. And that was the starting point. And even though if I just checked through the proceeding book of the first meeting, it was some 65 papers presented, and including also the proceeding one. I think it's a great number, even with the start rate. And even in that time, quite a number of international professors and people, scientists were invited, mostly in the neighborhood countries. The second one, due to some technical reason, a little bit as was planned originally in every second year, probably, or third year. But anyway, it was organized in 2020. And the number of the presentations grown up. If I remember, it was more than 150, probably including in the proceedings in that time. Then the main topic, the main keyword was towards the Industry 4.0, challenges and opportunities for industry and technology and other sector. So it was all of its very up-to-date problems but to deal with. And now we are here in the third one. In that sense, it is in the consecutive year, just 2021, but we are happy to be here and to go back in the ordinary time schedule probably from now. And as everybody knows right now, even was reading in the program and the invitation that the main theme is enriching engineering sciences through collaboration of multidisciplinary fields. And that is really, I would say, that great, because including quite a number of the people, more people from abroad. And as the informal meeting just we started right now, I already mentioned that we have here in Europe, especially at the middle of the Europe, it's a long-term cooperation. It's a BPS symposium series, Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovakia and Hungary. And all of the people now were invited. And Donny made some attempt to invite all of us, as he used to take part in also our meetings, and also the Indonesian students. So we are here, and I think in this way, more extension expected for the future of this conference series. So the challenge is quite okay. And I would just remind some of you that Dr. Dani Rushiravan is the vice rector right now, that he was just with us quite a long time here in Hungary, in Gödöllő, and he did his PhD with us. Everybody, I hope Dani also still remember exactly the title of his thesis at that time, Energetic Modeling of Photovoltaic Modules in Grid-Connected Systems. And he finished it 2006. So that means quite a time ago when he, he arrived to Hungary 2006, and he stayed with us some 5 years or a little bit more. But after the defense was 2013. But even after that, he came back several times as a postdoc fellowship and shorter visits. What is a great thing that during that period also we developed quite many things, especially the student exchange and BSc level, MSc level, and specifically PhD level. And beside of that, we were participating in curriculum developments on both sides, and also a lot of publications we made together, and including also the students supervisorship also. And just very recently, I would like to say that even our department, we have one PhD student, Vicky. Vicky has got also that presentation in this meeting. He's working with us now more than a year, second year. And even the Heikel, who was the MSc student last year, just mentioning 2 of them, but many more also in other fields also working with us. So it is, I think, we continue such kind of cooperation. And also in my idea that we would like to include or invite also people from other countries to come on doctoral programs, maybe the supervising the students together, the joint supervisions. I think it's also very beneficial with putting together all the scientific efforts that both sides we are doing so. I think the way that we started many years ago, I think it's quite nice, quite useful, both sides. So my sense is that in this way, we are supporting all the scientific life and activities, not only to our countries, not only the European countries, mostly here we are participating today and tomorrow this meeting, but I think also through the publication, through the other activities, we are also joining to the international activities. It is also the very important one because we are a part of the international bigger scientific family. And so this is my coming to the end of my just greetings, and I would like to express my greatest appreciation for organizing, and especially Dani. Dani, I hope that you will have time, you will have effort to continue all of those efforts, what you were initiated and then you started, and you are continuing, and you will continue in the future. And I wish you all the best, and especially today to this meeting. So that's all at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Farkas. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up to the season 2, Professor Izwan Farkas as keynote speaker and Dr. Fahmi Arif as moderator. We welcome to all participants to join, and to the moderator, time and place are yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Is my voice clear? No, can anyone?
Yes,
Hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear. Yes.
Okay.
very, very clear.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. It is an honor for me to be here in the event of FOITIC 2021. Especially, yeah, it's been an honor for me to accompany our distinguished speaker here, Professor Dr. Izwan Farkas. Good afternoon, Professor Izwan. He's already been here. Yeah.
Yes.
We have met Professor Farkas from the very beginning of the FOITIC, the first FOITIC, and yeah, he's very interested in this event from the beginning, always coming here. But now, yeah, I'm so sorry we cannot meet in person this year due to the pandemic situation. So, but still, we have a great time to meet you online here. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dr. Izwan Farkas currently is a head of the Mechanical Engineering Doctoral School, Hungarian University of Agriculture and Life Science in Gödöllő, Hungary. He obtained doctoral degree from Technical University Budapest. Recently, a lot of his activity devotes on international professional societies such as International Solar Energy Society, International Federation of Automatic Control, European Federation of Chemical Engineering, European Thematic Network on Education and Research in Biosystem Engineering, European Network on Photovoltaic Technology. He is a president of Hungarian Solar Energy Society. He is editorial board member of several international journals. He was founding chairman for the Energy and Environment Workshop and Hungarian Drying Symposium series. He published more than 150 peer-reviewed journal papers, which 50 have got impact factors. He conducted 42 projects in the past, among them 10 EU and further 11 international ones. 20 of his students, PhD students, have already defended their thesis. He was a visiting professor in several universities as a solar energy application laboratory, Colorado State University, Fort Collins, USA. He also a visiting professor in Department of Energy, Helsinki University of Technology in Finland, and several visiting activity. So without any further delay, I would like to invite Professor Izwan Farkas to deliver his valuable speech. Please welcome Professor Izwan Farkas.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fatmi, that nice introduction. And now I tried, and introducing me, I tried to share my screen. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see. Say that if you are able to have a look, mine. Can you see my share screen?
Yes, I can see.
Now I try to make the full screen. How about now?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, that's fine. As this plenary talk, I just would like to share all the most recent information concerning the field of the solar energy application, and specifically the photovoltaic technologies. Photovoltaic technologies is developing extremely fast. So a lot of effort are done. I would say that almost every month, every week, we have to follow that what is going on, what about the most recent line of the activities. So therefore, I try to right now to just make a kind of summary of that. So this is the outline of my presentation today. So I already started to say the introduction because saying that how important to follow all up the recent activities. And the solar photovoltaic scenarios, what we are facing for, what we are expecting, and what is the industry characterization, the recent developments, and the new PV innovation segments, which are time to time, it's a new field are coming into the focus. And something about the market issues, and just following what I mentioned here in the new innovation segments, very soon, very after that, following the application areas, the new ones. So it's a kind of connection between. Of course, it's based on the market situation and some conclusion I would like to say. All those who are working in the solar field, they know that if we are just would say that if we are characterized or distributed into the main area of the solar activities, solar thermal, solar photovoltaic, so electricity production, solar thermal, the heat energy generation. And I did not mention here the passive application, which relates mostly for the buildings applications, orientation and buildings and so on. So I just focused here in this table, the solar thermal and the photovoltaic, because these are the active ones. So we have special equipments. I would say that if we go back maybe that 50s, last century, so it's been 70 years ago, it was a kind of booming of the solar thermal. And that time, and since it's quite a big changing, in a sense, recently, the electricity production, the direct electricity production with the photovoltaic units came to the focus. Therefore, today, I would say, very generally saying that the solar thermal has lower priority in every sense, market sense, scientific sense, and so on. I will show some tables about it, figures. Probably one thing, if electricity, it's important one. So therefore, the photovoltaic has a higher priority because directly we produce electricity. Still, some segments, some small part of the solar thermal, the higher, the concentrated CSP, concentrated solar power, we are generating electricity. So this is still preferred. But it is not, for instance, in Hungary or middle of the Europe, in our countries, it's not available out there. So we have a much higher radiation circumstances for that. So photovoltaic. So therefore, today I would like to focus on the photovoltaic. Concerning to the scientific activities, one of the, I would say that the International Solar Energy Society is a scientific body, the higher scientific body who are behind of that activities and try to put them together. We have in a conference series, biannually. It's very happy to say that the ISAS conferences, Solar World Congress, every second year, biannually. This week, actually running parallel to this one. So it's still running today and tomorrow, but we started last Monday, so all the week around. And in between at that international conferences, we have the Eurosun. So this is the European, that's a smaller. But anyway, we organized already the 13 times of that. And if you look at that, I don't want to analyze, look at the topics that was in the 2000, the conference topics, all of them, but I mentioned included. And it is 2019, it was the Solar World Congress, Santiago. But today, as you see that just absolutely, I put it together because this final program, I just pick up and enlarge a little bit what is today and this week. And the main theme saying that we are trying the covering perspectives on achieving 100 renewables. This is the main idea. Each year, when it's organizing Solar World Congress, we are putting a kind of keywords or key sentences what is it? What is the main thing? Today, this one. So if you look at that, and this grid connection, poverty renewables, solar electric technologies, so including that. So that's fine. If you would like to analyze the most recent situation, then every year, a lot of institutions, for instance, International Energy Agency, just I mentioned one here, that many more, the very important institutions, for instance, Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, or they are publishing a kind of book, a yearbook, where they try to make their own report, what they are doing, what they are thinking about the near future. Some of that book I just listed here for you. And also I yellowed all those, but some of the tables were some figures I picked up for today's presentations, the Fraunhofer report and the renewables, the global status report, and the solar heat worldwide. Solar heat worldwide, I just decided to show something because, however, I'm today concentrating on solar photovoltaic, but some comparison, what is the ratio between the solar PV. This is just the cover page of those books. Most of these books available online and downloadable. So if somebody would like to get them, it's not that complicated to get all those. So this is the, and some of the, because different agencies are making that reports. Sometimes if you study it in very comparatively to that, sometimes you find some small differences between them, even their number. And it is the same table with that. Just what we would like to show it, I would like to show it that look at the total capacity in gigawatt and also the energy supplied in terawatt hour. So this is the two table. Let's concentrating the capacity. So what is the installed capacity? Look at the photovoltaic. Photovoltaic is, this is 706, 708. Actually, this number, many other sources, they're putting higher this value. The reason is that this made for this table made for a comparison of the different sources of renewables, and therefore only the certain part of the PV application which are grid connected, including of that. But the total is higher. I will show it. It's around 750 or something like that. But anyway, if you make a comparison, solar thermal is around 500. It is 700 something. So increased very much. If you go back some 10 years, it was somehow down there. And this is the solar thermal power. This is the what I mentioned, that it's quite low, but still reasonable. We don't have the very recent table for the trend, but even though this last year, I mean 2019 year, which was published 2020 actually, the ratio of the different, the growth rate, and look at the photovoltaic. Photovoltaic growth rate is still very high, a little bit coming down, but this is probably again will go up. That's the estimation, but still quite reasonable one. And if you compare it to the solar thermal in 2019, it was negative. It's quite easy explanation of that. China is one of the leading in both areas, but the government in China dropped some support, some activities in the solar thermal, as because they also invested much more in the solar photovoltaic electricity production. So that is the reason. So the ratio is decreased, not the maximum. I mean the total increased, but the ratio of the increasement, it was getting negative or less than the previous year. So now coming back to the solar PV capacity and the annual addition. As I told you, including all the PV, not only the previously it was 708, but it is a correct number if you total we want to take into consideration all installation for photovoltaic field, 760 gigawatts. 1 year ago, it was 620. So the addition is quite reasonable. So these are the yearly additions. So this is increasing. So this can't be stopped. It seems that it is the same way increasing. So if you compare some countries, and I would say that what about those countries who are doing most of it, and not only the fabrication, but also that installation? Definitely China is the leading. Let's make that here. So look at the 2020. So the ratio for China is the higher one. European Union altogether is also its reasonable share. United States, Japan, India, and the rest of the world. So this is the distribution between the countries, and the leading position is no doubt China. And that is, as I told, that a little bit the Chinese government decided in favor of the PV. They are extending the capacity, and that is the reason that a little negative trend of the increase of the solar thermal was in China. If we are coming a little bit to study what kind of technologies are to be applied, we have a very, very detailed list. NREL, the National Research Electric Laboratory in Colorado, this is American institution, the main institution dealing with the solar photovoltaic issues. Every month they are publishing the most updated development, especially a kind of virtual, not virtual, probably real competition of the efficiency of the solar cells. So we try to increase, that's a competition. So if therefore the several different technologies are on the way to be developed already, or try on the way to be developed, I just put here the three main boxes. I pick up this table from Fraunhofer Institutes. The thin film technologies, and the multi-silicon cells, and the monocrystalline silicon cells. And this is the production of the cell production, not the module, so just the cell. And very interesting what can be studied. And monocrystalline ratio was at the beginning, it was almost the only one. And later on, they started the multicrystalline, because multicrystalline production was much easier and cheaper. That is a reason, long time. Look at that very, very, very long time period that when multicrystalline, of course, the multicrystalline silicon that gets a different efficiencies, lower. So therefore, but it was much easier to produce. It was cheaper. So therefore, in this long-term period, it was a leading. And now, because the efficiency again coming and the prices went down, several reasons, I will explain later. So therefore, again, the monocrystalline is coming up, as you see. Look at the 2020. Thin film is the cheapest way and simplest way the production. So therefore, there is a certain percent, but no doubt that monocrystalline technologies are coming. And we have, as I mentioned, that the NREL, this is American institution, every month they are publishing more complicated trend lines of all technologies. They have here in the different technologies, I would say something like 30, 40 most important and very complicated table. I didn't want to disturb you with that to understand. So therefore, this simplified trend lines I show here for concerning the cell efficiencies. So I would say that if you see that the very updated, so it is including the this year results. So today, the highest value, the almost laboratory value, this is 47.1% the cell efficiency, extremely high. So this is, I would say that when we have a multi-junction layers we use and concentrated cells. So that's a very special technologies. Still, we are far away to put it into the, let's say, the production. So that's a laboratory. Theoretically, at the moment, we are considering something like 67%, the theoretical limit of the cell efficiency using silicon cells. So therefore, this one is a kind of competition also the world. All laboratories, they are doing some research, they are announcing time to time, month to month, that what about that? Maybe 1.1 or 0.2, that just a little increase immediately they are publishing. And if you see that what I said concerning the monocrystalline silicon, therefore, because the efficiency is extremely going on, and therefore it has a very big significance at the moment, as that previously I mentioned. So we have about 36%. All of that, what you say that it's very importantly, I mentioned in the laboratory. Multicrystalline is mentioned here, something like 26, but not that much investment are doing in that direction today. And some of the new technologies, what I would like to mention, a very special technology, the so-called perovskite cells. This technology, if you see that, goes back a short term, but also in spite of the fact we started something like 2015, it's a jump and going on again, going on. So this is today one of the emerging technology that the people are thinking, the perovskite technology. So this is, they are estimating quite a nice future for that. And personally, I have a very personal issue concerning the different technologies. I like very much the organic type of the cells. Organic type goes back, as you see, that around 2006 or yeah, something like that to start with. This is when we try to use not an artificial materials, but the organic type of cell, which is somehow closely related to the nature, what is they doing. And what we, the mankind, we should learn from the nature. We should learn how to make that conversion, what automatically, billions of years, how the nature, they use that energy in favor of the overlife. So this approach for me, therefore, it's very nice. However, the conversion ratio is still low, but maybe at the end of my presentation, I want to show the small video concerning that, what I like very much, just justifying the importance of that one for the near or far future, maybe. Concerning to the silicon cells development, as I mentioned, that it was a very large development, definitely. Why was that? How was the technology developed? Probably two parameters, which is important, I would like to mention. If we are going back maybe 15 years, something like that. What is the thickness of the layer, the thin layer, the buffer layer? So that was reducing. And the other side, The silicon usage. The silicon is, some people think it's unlimitedly available on the earth, but not the case, totally. But we have a ratio, how many grams silicon we use for the 1 watt peak solar cell production. So this one, if as you see, this is the orange color. This is the silicon use. Silicon use, the gram. So it was 16 grams for 1 watt, and now it's around 3. So this, if you just take into your account of that two main idea, that the thickness and also the silicon applied, to get the same amount of energy production with the cell. So this is two efforts, or maybe a result, what in the development we got it. So, and both of them is continuing. And definitely the extension that we would like to use the solar technologies, and specifically I'm talking now the PV, the payback time, the energy payback time. So how much energy, if we are making the installation and using for energy production, how can we pay back our system? That's practically very important for everybody, not only a household, but even in a large extent. So this is the table, what just showing that it's a long term, it's a 24 years. This is the trend line. This trend line, I put that number. So that's EBPBT means the energy payback time. This is a silicium PV, of course. So this payback, this is the payback time. So it means that anytime when the production, so the more, the higher the production, of course, the price is going down, price is going down, 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 then cheaper the installation. So it goes the energy production cheaper. So it says that calculation that if the production doubled, then yearly, as you see, that 12.8% reduction in the payback time. So it means, and a very personal example, I would like to say to you that, because I will show you also a table very soon for the price of the cell or modules, and then I will show you one about installation, one example. How was that? Concerning of the energy payback time, sorry for that, showing a European map of the irradiation, but probably this map, I mean, it's that's north of Africa here, Spain, South Spain, and if you see that the radiation ratio, that irradiation kilowatt hour per square meter annually, and it can be seen that today, if the rooftop system, it's a more large scale uniform application. Definitely the payback time is much less than the individual small scale systems. And definitely, if we have the higher ratio of irradiance or radiation, in that case, this energy payback time, which is here, coming down, down, down. Today, all those applications in these regions, as you see, it's coming today, even the rooftop large systems, it's somehow we are here. So between 1 and 1.5 years. That's something extremely important one. So, and this way implies and indicates all those activities what are going in that direction when we are trying to use more and more PV in energy production. Concerning the module price, so that was the payback time. Module price, definitely I mentioned, it's they are joining, belong together somehow. And I'm just looking at that the chairman that how much time I still have. Maybe I still have, let me see that, yeah, 15 minutes if I say so. Okay, that's all. So if you look at the module price curve, drastically it's coming down. So the same thing what I mentioned in concerning to the payback time, the module price, same trend. So all that long term, around 40 years, if the production doubled, then during the last 40 years, double the production, then 25% the module price went down. I would say that today it's very low price. So that's relatively the rooftop system when you are going to that one. Just some words I would like to say that one component which is important, the solar photovoltaic, I don't want to analyze it, just showing that inverter market. When we have the main components, the string inverters, the central inverters, micro inverters, or sometimes it's additional units. So it is going the efficiency very high, as you see, very close to the 98, 97, 99%, very high. And the price also dropped down. So not only the photovoltaic cells, but also modules, but also if you are building a system, the most important when you convert to the EC, DC to EC, then that also efficiency high, and also that the price drop drastically. And now I would like to talk a little bit about the new innovation segments. The new innovation segments as photovoltaic application, I just pointed out some of them. One can put some more dots here to put in some more. I just personally, I sorted out some of them. And one is that the electrical vehicles. Today, all through the world, a lot of effort is going on concerning to the plug-in vehicles and battery chargeable vehicles, and absolutely a good application for photovoltaic systems. Even in our campus are considering such kind of stations when it's possible to plug in the electrical vehicles. The other issue is the floating PV projects. And the limit, sometimes if you are building a large scale of, because solar energy and therefore also the PV application requires the area of the collector or solar thermal all for the modules. And sometimes if we have limitations of that, we are putting the installation on the water. So this, we call it the floating PV projects. It's a new idea today. It's a new innovation. So if we don't have another area, try to make installation. I will show you some examples of that. What I sorted out, the agri-PV. Agri-PV is quite a new term. Agricultural PV applications. How can we apply the photovoltaic in agriculture, or even arable farm, or even, or more better to say that all those fields where probably cultivation is not that effectively can be done. So this is a new field. Now it's a new conference series actually established in the agri-PV. It was the last one in France, that meeting. Concerning to the modules, larger scale, a larger power, larger capacity modules are in production in the industrial level, because the larger and larger systems they are building. So we call that group 400 watt plus modules. So this is a new approach that we are building, something like that. And the building applications, the bifacial modules, what is coming. So both sides of the modules can be use for the application. So this is the some of them what I just picked up. Let's say some words about the vehicles, electric vehicles. Something this table I show you that's extremely fast development. Look at that. So that's the total number. I don't want to analyze the region and the country, just the total number, the trend, 2000. A year ago, it was around 7 million electrical vehicles on the world. It is somehow the million of the vehicles. A year ago, I mean 2019. End of 2020, so we arrived 10 million, 41% higher than 2019. And additionally, so this is a global electrical, this is passenger car. That's important to mention. 10 years, have a look, reasonable. And also increasing in Hungary. Yeah, I don't know the situation in Indonesia, but maybe it's also will go on that way. So what I would like to still mention that several countries, there are several countries, who in not a long term, maybe a 10-year term, they would like to reach the 100 electrical vehicle target. Just in Europe, what I know that Norway is on the way, for instance. Iceland also is on the way. They would like to reach that point. Concerning the floating project, that's just some pictures I show you. It's still not a very large scale, but just showing that unused area. What is otherwise you cannot use it for, let's say. So you can put the PV installation like that. Actually, the wind turbines, if you say that offshore, that installations also that just avoid them in case of wind turbines, they don't avoid also the noise problem and everything. They just building into the sea. A lot of countries, Denmark, Netherlands, Germany, and all those other countries. So this is now a rapid expansion is going that direction, installation of more unused water surfaces, even the sea. Agriculture, as I mentioned, that all those, if it is possible to make combination with the animal husbandry areas, or even arable farms, and just here in Hungary, not more than a month ago, quite a big project started. A group of companies just approached us. We had a strong discussion that how could be the application to build something like that one, even a transparent or semi-transparent PV, and using that way that even the machinery, I mean the cultivation could run under the PV installation. So that's just a project what I would like to mention. So as I told that this is a combination of the PV in the agriculture. A lot of other applications here, of course, which goes back in the long term, something like pumping, water pumping, and so on. So it's a new trend. The large-scale modules are just one picture, as I told you that. A larger one because they're much easier to assemble, and the assembling cost is much less, and also the production of larger modules could relatively be cheaper, probably. And just example for the bifacial modules, which is a potential gain. And in that sense, I have a very special, personally, I think that I have a lot of friends who are architects, and even with my family, I would say that very personal what I'm saying. My daughter is an architect, and they like very much that such kind of application, but they always say that, yes, that's fine, that's very good. It's the energetic point of view, very good, but they say that they are architects, so they want to keep their own freedom. If we don't come with the module, a lot of possibilities, maybe flexible, transparent, semi-transparent, then they will not be applied. So therefore, it's a kind of, I wouldn't say fight, but a kind of better understanding is needed between them. But we are also several projects applying that. So now would like to come to the almost to the end of my presentation today. Just I picked up some key points what I said, and I consider that it's important. And as I told you, despite of a little bit decreasing the annual growth rate, but altogether the PV growing impressively. I just calculated that compared to the 2019, it is 21% increase. So we reached 760 gigawatt PV. The module price a year ago, what I mean in 2019, I remember it was 0.33 US dollar per watt. And end of 2000, it was, sorry, yeah, I know I made a mistake. Sorry for that. It is 2033. Oh, sorry. So that's, yeah, it is 33, the recent one. I left it here the last year. So last year, 2009, it was 3.6. And end of 2020, 4.33 US dollar. It is around 9% dropping of the price. And this is continuing. What is the main data here? I'm repeating again that 47.1%. It is the laboratory the highest ratio of the cell with the concentrator. And if you considering the module as also is a laboratory module, so not it is unfortunately not the practice, not yet. It's around with concentrating solution 38.9. And for mini modules, so it's very small scale, so I mean not really applicable still. And in industry, 43.4. So it's very close to that one, the cell efficiency. Just again repeating that the emerging technologies as a new segments, the floating PV, agri PV, charging electric cars, and so on. Yeah. And very finally, let me just come back to my very personal view, what I mentioned earlier, that when we are talking all of that photovoltaic technologies, if you remember, I put it that one of the lower line, it was that when organic solutions, organic PV, and I said that personally I like that technology, still low efficiency. Just think about the photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is very large conversion rate when the plants are converting the radiation, the solar energy, they concentrating, converting into the chemical energy. And so a short video I would like to show you finally, very short one, 1 minute, a little bit longer, how in the earth, how the nature, what it is, we are still must to learn from the nature, how it's billions of years, how developing, how to make that like photosynthesis. But this example, this small video is just coming from the, that's not from the plant world, but it's coming from the animal world. So this is my last thing. I hope that it will be able to show and share with you.
There are no trees for hundreds of miles. Yet these are undoubtedly peculiar footprints. This female Namaqua chameleon is searching for a mate. No part of her body seems suited to such an environment. Her feet that could give her such a good grip on twigs should surely be useless on soft sand, but she's able to spread them like snowshoes. She needs to get warm and active while the desert is still cool, so she exploits the chameleon's versatile skin. The side facing the sun goes dark to absorb the sun's heat, while the other remains light and minimizes the heat escaping from her body.
Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Farkas. It's a very insightful speech on the trend and development of the photovoltaic. So I believe that we can learn a lot from your presentation, many things that we can discuss and we can share to other that recently our renewable energy is got a lot of attention. So if you say that you don't know how the development here in Indonesia, I also don't know. I don't have any data of that. But since we have the regulation for personal use to connect to the national grid, I saw a lot of houses using photovoltaic in their rooftop is growing there. So thank you again for your presentation, and we are welcome to the participant to have a question or something to comment. If you have something to comment or something to discuss, so you can just raise your hand and we give you the opportunity to ask the question. Meanwhile, we have a question on the chat box here from Dr. Alexin Putra. It's regarding the energy crisis in Europe. Is there anything to do with the rise of renewable energy?
I tried to check that.
Okay.
That book. Let me see. Yes, I think that if we are talking in the energy crisis somehow in connection with the new development, industrial development, where requires energy. So two things we have to be separated in my mind. One is that generally all the technologies what requires for the the energy efficient solution. So I think itself, I would say that renewable energy, not the only solution. I think the efficient use of the energy, that's very important one. So that's one thing. All technologies, all fields. And what we could say that, can I mention maybe a very personal number what I know. I was driving a long time. I was thinking the efficient car. And generally, it was the petrol consumption, something like 7 liters for 100 kilometers, 7.5, let's say. And last year, luckily, I changed the car in a hybrid car. And now the petrol consumption is more than a year I'm driving that car, 4.4 liters. So just one thing. And it means that we had to consider also that this way. And I think if we are combining up that two, so once to use the renewable sources, combining to them, and if it is possible to use the hybrid systems. Hybrid systems are the renewables. And just, I would say that I would like to mention one example that Hakel, your PhD students from Bandung, he was with us last year. His MSc diploma work, we made a calculation for an island data using for Indonesia. So how could we develop maybe a power plant in a hybrid combination of photovoltaic and wind? If you have the wind data and if you have the radiation data, it can be calculated the optimal ratio between the renewables. So I would say that simply saying that such kind of hybrid is very beneficial. Very simply saying, if there is a radiation, mostly we have a wind. It's of course not totally overlapping like that, but if there is radiation, no so much wind. So absolutely a very good pair to use that combination, the hybrid system. Therefore, it's not that complicated to make a model to find all those areas. Then I would like to develop the renewable applications. We can share, we can optimize the ratio, whatsoever. So summarizing, I would say again that beside the renewables, that energy efficiency technologies, and the other one is to use the hybrid system.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Farkas. So while we are waiting for another question, I personally have a question to you.
Go ahead.
In your opinion, since we find that photovoltaic now is growing, recently is growing, the development is very fast. So in your opinion, compared to other renewable energy like wind energy and so on, which one is better for our future?
So I would say that as I mentioned, just the hybridization of the systems, it's beneficial. So as I mentioned that if the best one, if we try to find the optimal ratio between the different technologies, that's one thing. If you have only one choice, let's say, then definitely you have to take into consideration the ratio of the efficiency, how it's developing. Today, definitely, as you remember, I show one example, the wind application is still quite higher than the PV. I can go back easily to show that table for you that one more here. So if you see that the capacity, but you see the energy what we are supplied by wind is much higher. So it means if possible, if somebody have a good wind conditions, definitely the wind is, in that sense, it's beneficial. But I would say even at that columns, if you compare, this is the hybridization, but also professionally, this hybrid I told you, because they are overlapping, when one is missing, the other one is not. So it means that in Europe, I would say that PV, I would say the wind is still strong, remains strong and continue the development. But the PV, I think the ratio will be growing up, growing. So PV is the most promising in that sense.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I think actually I still have some question, but I think the time is reach our we reach our session, the end of our session. So thank you very much, Professor Izwan Farkas, for your valuable speech. And again, hope we will meet again someday, online or in person, hopefully in a better situation. Thank you very much, Prof. Izwan Farkas. Thank you, and see
Thank
you.
Okay,
then. Okay, then I'm giving back the time and floor to the MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fahmi and Professor Farkas. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, coming up to the third plenary session, our keynote speaker is Dr. Hassan Al Abdul Gadir from Saudi Aramco, with Dr. Jonas Suhartono as moderator. Mr. Abdul Gadir and Mr. Suhartono, the floor are yours.
Okay, thank you very much for Master of Ceremony. Can I call for Dr. Hassan to say hi to us, all of us? Hello?
Hello, hi.
Dr. Hassan?
Hello, I'm speaking. Okay.
Hello? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your voice. All right, Dr. Hassan has a problem with his computer. Maybe while we're waiting for Hassan, I will read his biodata or curriculum vitae. Dr. Hassan is he is a graduate from Bachelor Engineering from Nottingham University, UK, with honors, and then he continued to study his master degree in Philadelphia, at USA. Then he finished his doctoral graduation from Swansea University in chemical engineering. Dr. Hassan currently working as a program director at a Research and Development Center in Saudi Aramco. He has been in Saudi Aramco since 2018. Before was working as a lecturer, and also his final career in academic as vice dean in College of Engineering, King Faisal University Al Ahsa, Saudi Arabia. Today, Dr. Hassan will deliver the demo of for this third session or third panel is about the role of membranes technologies for efficient and safe cycle of wastewater. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me now, Dr. Jono?
Yes, it's clear now. Thank you very much.
So I am joining through my mobile, but I'll be sharing my screen through my laptop. It seems that I have a problem with my laptop mic. So let me just share my screen.
All right.
Yeah, you can see my screen now, right?
All right, yes, we can see it now. Okay, you can start your presentation, Dr. Hassan. The time is 35 minutes for the presentation, and then we will use the rest for the discussion. Yeah. Yes, you can start now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Jono. And sorry, I'm not used to using Zoom for this meeting. We're in Aramco, we're only tied up with the Skype meetings. But it's good that now you can all see my screen and you can hear me. Before I start, I just want to thank the Faculty of Industrial Technology at the National Institute of Technology for the invitation. And I hope my presentation here will shed some light on the potential use of membrane technology for wastewater recycle. I tried in this presentation not to make it very, very technical in the water and membrane technology field, since my understanding here the audience have multidisciplinary background. So just shedding some light on this subject, and we can always dive into more details when we go to the questions and answers session. Okay, so here's the outline of the presentation. So I'll just talk a little bit about the wastewater challenge and the reuse opportunity that we have here in the world, and then we'll talk about. I'll just give you an introduction on the membrane technology, some of the classifications that are out there for membranes. Because membranes are a very big subject. The technology are used in different applications, not just the wastewater field. And then we'll dive into more into the pressure.
Excuse me, Dr. Hassan, excuse me. Could you please turn on the camera so we can see you?
Okay. Okay.
You have a problem with the camera, or?
Yeah, I think I have a problem with my camera. So.
All right. It's fine. It's okay. All right.
Okay. And then we'll conclude with the final remarks. Okay, so let's just, before we talk about the use of membranes for wastewater reuse, just identify the challenge that we have out there. Just to put things into perspective, worldwide, the wastewater that are produced have exceeded 359 billion cubic meter per day. I did not write billion, I just put zeros just to have an idea about the huge amount of wastewater that the global population dispose of on a yearly basis. If we look at contracted wastewater capacity to treat this water, it is a big interest worldwide. It has now exceeded 120 million cubic meter per day. However, most of this contracted wastewater treatment capacity is coming from developed countries, rich countries. And if we look at developing countries, only 8% of the wastewater gets treated. Just also want to share with you a snapshot of the problem that we have, particularly in Saudi Arabia with wastewater. The municipal wastewater, and this discounting the industrial wastewater, we're talking about 2.5 trillion cubic meter per day. And this and the wastewater is expected to double in 2050 due to expansion in urbanization and the drastic increase in the population in Saudi Arabia. However, when we look at the water demand in 2020 in the kingdom, and this includes all types of water demand, agriculture, potable, municipal, industrial, we're talking about 1 trillion cubic meter in 2020. Saudi Arabia is considered countries where there is a huge opportunity in wastewater reuse, because when we now look at the current reuse, it's only 30% for municipal and only 10% of industrial wastewater that is currently reused. However, part of the kingdom vision in 2030 is to have this ambitious goal to reach 100% recycle for municipal and 80% recycle of industrial wastewater. So the big question here, why do we need to treat and reuse this water? Why just we take fresh water either from freshwater resources or even desalinated water? The biggest reason is the global water scarcity. I know maybe in Indonesia, the water scarcity is not that pressing challenge the same as in Saudi Arabia, but still with the forecast of population, water scarcity, the problem that will not be just quite specific and regional, is expected to be almost everywhere in the upcoming years. There is a big market for the water need. The global market for water has exceeded to $22 billion. And also, some of the misconception that we have here is that it's not possible to completely reuse this water. However, a number of countries have proved that this is possible. One of these countries is Cyprus, who managed to 100% reuse the wastewater for agriculture and urban amenities. Also, Singapore is a country that is completely reusing their wastewater. And if you compare it as a source of fresh water, you compare it with seawater desalination for countries that need desalinated water, it's much cheaper than desalinating water from the sea. Also, this will enable the limitation of groundwater consumption. And we know that, especially that agriculture worldwide accounts for the majority of water use and consumption, and most of this water coming from groundwater consumption. So being able to reuse will reduce this groundwater. And according to many studies, the productivity of groundwater is not expected to survive in many places for the next 50 years. Okay, so here is an illustration of two options of water reuse, or two cities. Here you have a city that takes water either from surface water, groundwater. Here is just an example from a river, or it could be from even seawater. Treat it and then send it to the sea. and in city 2 here you see the water is disposed of. So huge amount is needed on a daily basis to treat and fulfill the water needs in the city. However, if you have a good recycle of this water, you can dispose all of this water in here in City 1 to a treatment plant, and this treatment can either send it for industrial as industrial water, irrigation, and even potable use as well. And just if I know potable use is usually is a subject of debate, and this is actually the biggest hurdle that we face with wastewater reuse. But at least this water can be reused for irrigation, given the fact that globally irrigation accounts for 70% of water consumption, and this consumption is expected to be 3 times higher than it was 50 years ago. So the complex, so this water is, the wastewater can be quite complex. It depends on its source. If it's coming just more of utility wastewater, or it can be industrial water, produced water in oil and gas. The picture that you see here is the most complex type of wastewater that you have, that we face here in Saudi Aramco, which is produced water. However, in order to go from the raw form all the way to fully treated form, it has to go through multiple treatment steps. It has to go through filtration, different filtration levels, all the way to desalination. Of course, the level of a treatment is always dictated by the water quality that you have in the feed, and the projected or the needed water product water specification. In some cases, the desalination step is not needed. So generally in wastewater treatment, there are 3 levels. The first, you start with basic treatment, which just remove large particles. And then you have what they call tertiary treatment. And this is a basic treatment plus media filtration, or MBR. And this is used usually for irrigation if the salinity is not too high, and also for non-potable municipal use. However, in these in the upcoming years, there are projected interest to go all the way to full treatment, which is a tertiary treatment plus RO, or if needed even UF for potable use, for potable use, or if the salinity is high, for irrigation use to reduce the salinity up to the desired level. Again, as I mentioned before, the biggest, so the technologies are out there to fully treat this water. However, the biggest hurdle with wastewater reuse is the public approval. That has been a major hurdle for many municipal authorities, and has been a key hindrance in the widespread of applying these technologies, either being it a membrane or different or conventional technology. So now we looked at the problem and the opportunity that are out there. So looking at the solution in terms of technology, here what I'm sharing with you the conventional treatment technology that are typically used, and this is a tertiary treatment level. And with this one, you have an activated sludge, a trickling filter, sometimes rotating biological contactors, and then followed by a sand filter to achieve the tertiary treatment. However, the problem with this technology, there are two problems. One is it requires large footprints that is sometimes not feasible, because usually this wastewater treatment plants will be located inside the city. The city is congested, and to have large plants to treat all of this water sometimes is not possible. And also the product quality is not always cannot be guaranteed to achieve like more of a complete barrier of all of these contaminants. So looking at alternative technologies, one of the promising technology are the use of membranes for wastewater. It has been used now, and people for the last 10-15 years, and authorities, companies trying to adopt it. Still in the adoption phase, but many now companies are leaning toward this for a number of reasons. The first is obviously the footprint. With a membrane system, it will be typically up to 10 times less than the conventional treatments. The level of treatment is far greater than conventional treatment technology, and this will help toward convincing the public that these membranes act as a full barrier, and there is a higher level of guarantee that the water quality will always be of the desired level. The process upset occurs less, often due to the nature of the treatment process. The thing is, with conventional treatment, it is quite sensitive to the variation in feed quality. So if the feed becomes, for whatever reason, which is something that could happen, of high TSS, for example, this will be the product quality will be affected based on this. However, with the membranes being almost a full barrier, it will be easier to maintain the same product quality. And the removal of physical separation allows for treatment for a broad range of water quality, as I mentioned before. And the third thing is easy to scale up. You know, these membranes are modular type, so you can easily build a system for certain capacity, and if you want to expand it, it's much easier than conventional technologies. Here a slide where I know it's a little bit of introductory slide, but this is directed for the listeners here who have almost no exposure on membrane and membrane technologies. So to define membranes are selective barriers with the ability to transport one component more readily than the other because of different physical and chemical properties between the membrane and the solutes. These membranes can be classified in a number of ways. Generally, you have natural membranes, biological membranes, and synthetic membranes. And the membranes can be neutral, charged, and the transport, if it's natural membranes, it will be a passive transport. If it's synthetic membranes, it will be an active transport. Other important classification, which will we come talk about it briefly, are classification based on pore size, material, and even the transport mechanism. So with natural membranes, these are membranes that you can find in your body and a number of plants, and these are extremely thin with a range of several nanometers. It's much more complex than synthetic membranes, and it is capable of active transport, which means that you can have a transport without any external driving force. Of course, these are natural membranes. There is no way not even at the near future, to synthesize some membranes with these capabilities. However, what we're going to talk about is the membranes that are manufactured for various applications, and these membranes can be organic and inorganic material. And for synthetic membrane, this layer of membrane or thin sheet of membrane will act as a selective barrier between two phases and is impermeable to specific particles, molecules, or substances after exposing this feed to a deriving force. So some components will allow to pass through this membrane, and the others will be rejected through the retentate stream. So in a very simplified illustration, for example, in pressure-driven membrane, you have the feed here, and this is the membrane. This is the membrane. You have a feed with certain contaminants. This membrane, based on its characteristics, will allow the water, certain particles to pass through, and will retain other particles. And then with that, you'll have a retentate stream and a permeate stream. So now we understand what we are referring to as a membrane and the synthetic membranes. Now let's look at the different membranes, a big subject, big area, and it can be classified in different ways. The most important way that it can be classified in terms of material. Membranes can be polymeric, ceramic, glass, metals. It can be even liquid. Selecting the membrane material will always depend on the type of treatment that you have. And each material has its own advantages and disadvantages. You can also classify the membranes under, for example, polymeric membranes into different structures. The membranes can be symmetric and can be asymmetric as well. And even the asymmetric can be integral asymmetric or composite, which structure which will be made of multiple material in one membrane. So the most important, let's say, classification in synthetic materials and comparing between them, looking between them, because it is somehow related to the wastewater treatment, is the use of either organic or inorganic material. With organic, it's mainly polymeric material or a polymeric blend. The good thing about polymeric material, and this is almost more than 80% of the membranes being manufactured for water treatment are of polymeric type. And the reason is the reason of its widespread is because of the easy manufacturing and the low cost. However, this material has its own limitation. Mainly, it has a limited chemical and mechanical stability. And this is very important limitation, especially for wastewater, because sometimes in the wastewater, you're dealing with the harsh contaminants, especially when it comes to industrial wastewater. And these contaminants can permanently damage your polymeric membranes. It has poor thermal stability, so when you're dealing with high temperature feed water, it's something that can affect the performance of your polymeric membrane, and also sensitive to the chemical attacks from the feed. When we look at the inorganic material, the most widely used inorganic material are ceramic materials that can be made of silica or alumina. It can be glass or ceramics, but the ceramic are the most widely used one. And the biggest advantage of this material, it has a very high thermal, chemical, and mechanical stability. So when you are dealing with, for example, industrial wastewater coming from refineries that has H2S, has dissolved organics, dealing with temperature exceeding 50 Celsius, ceramic membrane can be your only option. Similar to organic materials, the inorganic material have its own limitation as well. The biggest limitation is expensive. It is it can reach more than 10 times as expensive as the organic. And that's the main hurdle why many companies try to avoid the use of ceramic membranes. Also, the problem, although it has a very strong thermal, chemical, and mechanical stability, it is fragile. So it is sensitive to shocks or some kind of a hit that can break these material. And the third limitation is the limited size capacity. The thing is with ceramic membranes, it can be, and we'll talk about the configuration in the upcoming slides, but the mostly wide use form is through cylindrical configuration for ceramic membranes. With polymeric membrane, you can have hollow fiber, you can have a spiral wound, which has much more surface area, i.e. more treatment capacity than cylindrical type ceramic membranes. Here, I'm sharing with you a typical SEAM images of the membrane showing different pores and pore types in a membrane. And this is done through different fabrication method and different materials. Although, and this is the reason why I'm here, we're talking about the pores of the membrane, because pores actually dictate this, are the most important parameters that dictate the separation, performance of the contaminants. The material are usually selected based on their chemical and mechanical stability, but the material do not directly affect the separation characteristics. On the right, you see here a typical pore size distribution, which is something that in membranes we're looking to fabricate a membrane with a pore size that is small enough to remove the contaminants that we want to remove, but also with a narrow pore size distribution, similar to the graph that you see here on your right. The porosity of the membrane are found in a number of membranes that are using sieving mechanism for the separation. However, when we are talking about very tight membranes used for desalination, we have to talk about non-porous membrane. And in these membranes, the separation actually takes place through the difference in solubility and diffusivity. Solubility if you use this membranes for gas separation, and the diffusivity in water desalination. This is an image of on the top you can see a flat sheet membrane with a non-porous membrane, and usually in this non-porous membrane you have it's a composite membrane with a selective layer, a very thin selective layer on the top, as you can see here, and a support layer usually made of another polymeric material that is porous, that is used to support this thin layer and give it the required mechanical and chemical stability. On the bottom, you see also the same non-porous membrane, but configured in a hollow fiber configuration. So now we've covered the different membrane classification, the material, different materials, different advantages used that are required knowledge before you apply it for your wastewater treatment. Another important classification is the driving force. We've said before that the driving force is an important, or is the main reason why you do this, why you have this separation through the membrane, and this driving force can make the mass transfer through the membrane possible. Usually, the driving force can be pressure difference, as you can see here on your right, and here are different membranes used pressure difference for the separation, or it can be a concentration difference, or even electrical potential difference. However, in this application, wastewater application, we're going to focus on pressure-driven membranes, microfiltration, ultrafiltration membrane, and RO, since these are the ones that are mostly applicable for wastewater treatments. So looking at the pressure-driven membranes, there are 4 main classifications. You start with microfiltration, ultrafiltration, nanofiltration, and reverse osmosis. And in these pressure-driven membranes, the pressure exerted on the solution at one side of the membrane, which serves as the driving force to separate it into a permeate and retentate, as we shown earlier. Looking now closely at each type of pressure-driven membrane, we start with microfiltration membrane. With the microfiltration membranes, the water obviously pass through, all of these potential contaminants will pass through. However, the bacteria and the suspended solid will be rejected. The microfiltration membranes have the largest pores, ranging from 0.5 micrometer to 10 micrometer, and it has the highest permeability, giving the relatively large pore size. And you can achieve sufficient water flux with low pressures, even less than 2 bar. Of course, it's important to emphasize that the smallest pore size in a membrane will correspond to the size of suspended solids, colloid, and bacteria, which are retained by the sieving mechanism. Because of the relatively large pore size of this membrane, it's not suitable to remove germs, viruses, dissolved organics. However, it can be used as a good treatment, pre-treatment steps for further treatment downstream. Moving on to the ultrafiltration membranes, these membranes have smaller pores ranging from 2 to 100 nanometer, and this allows it to remove viruses in addition to the bacteria and suspended solids. The permeability, however, with this membrane is lower than the MF due to the smaller pore size, and so higher pressures are usually needed to maintain a high flux. Typical applications of UF membranes, not even outside the wastewater treatment, are the use of pre-treatment in seawater desalination plants, and also treatment of industrial water coming from various chemical industries. The third classification of pressure-driven membranes are nanofiltration membranes. With these membranes, they have usually a pore size that is less than 1 nanometer, and this extremely small pore size will allow it to remove, in addition to the suspended solids, the viruses, it will also be able to remove multivalent dissolved ions like calcium and magnesium, and also partially remove some of the monovalent ions like chloride and sodium. And usually this membrane is used for softening applications or even removal of some small dissolved organics. The fourth and the last pressure-driven membrane type is the reverse osmosis membranes. These membranes are extremely tight, have no defined pores, and usually require substantial higher pressures for its operation. These membranes are used to desalinate both brackish and seawater. And usually it is targeted to treat a water that is relatively clean, but has a high salinity, high level of dissolved solids that needs to be removed. So looking into the different materials used for to fabricate microfiltration, ultrafiltration membranes, these membranes are clearly used sieving mechanism for the removal. That's why they share a number of characteristics, similar characteristics, and that's why they're usually grouped together. And here
5 minutes left. Yeah?
You can. Sorry.
5 minutes. 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Could you please speed up? Okay.
So I need to move very quickly. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll skip that because I need to cover a number of quite more important stuff. So these are the materials that are typically used for MF and UF. They use different fabrication methods, and here the different configuration that I was talking to you about, you have for membranes. Polymeric membranes can be made as flat sheet membranes. These flat sheets will be can be either configured as just standard flat sheet or configured in a spiral wound element. Also membranes, if it's ceramic, that's ceramic, you usually use tubular type of configuration, and that's the only possible configuration that you can do. You can also do flat sheets. However, the footprint is even, or the capacity of water is much smaller than tubular. Hollow fiber used for polymeric type. This is a flat sheet membranes, as you can see here in the picture. A spiral wound use flat sheet, and this is the most widely used configuration. The hollow fiber also has a very good potential, especially given that it even has a bigger capacity than the hollow fiber. And you see these are very small tubular fibers that are hollow from inside and bundled together, as you can see here. Here it talks about the different applications for UF and MF, and mostly we are talking about the wastewater treatment. Moving to the NF and RO membranes, as I said before, it's usually a composite membrane that's made of a thin film, supported by a thin film on the top, supported by a porous polymeric type. And usually use these materials if desalination is a required step for your wastewater reuse. Here we talk about the different mode of operation in the membrane process. Mainly, it can be the feed can be sent as a dead end operation or as a cross flow operation. The cross flow operation is the most adapted form, since it has less tendency to foul your membrane. This shows the cross flow filtration and how it's how the flux behaves with the cake formation, the foulants on the membrane. And if you compare it with the dead end, you see the cake formation here increase and accumulate at a much higher rate, which will affect your lead over time, your yield and your flux. Here I want to talk briefly about the MBR, which is a type of a UF membrane that is a combination of a membrane, submerged membrane, usually in hollow fiber form, with activated sludge. This has been a very well received technology, especially and applicable for wastewater treatments, as it combines two steps in one system. And in this process, there are two main different configurations. One with low pressure membrane module, replacing the clarifier downstream the bioreactor. And the second is the membrane submerged in the bioreactor. If you compare this membrane-based technology with conventional technology, with the conventional technology, you see it's an old technology. It has high footprint and high labor and chemical cost, with inconsistent influent quality. However, with the MBR, you have better water quality, less footprint, and more automation is possible, with less energy consumption than the conventional. And this gives you a comparison between the requirement of the different treatment steps in conventional treatment and in a membrane-based treatment. Here, the last thing I want to touch upon is we have been talking about the strong potential of these membranes and its advantages. However, like any other technology, membranes has its own limitation. And these are, the biggest one is the fouling, which we'll talk about very briefly. Also, it requires more operation attention, especially during malfunctioning. But if you are dealing with membranes, the membranes, especially ceramic membranes, are sensitive to chemical attacks. The mechanical resistance is not as strong as other conventional technologies. However, the biggest issue, and all of these are mostly engineering problems that with good design, you are of the system, you're able to eliminate it. However, the fouling is a continuous problem with membranes. And here are just pictures of, on the left, you can see submerged hollow fiber membrane. And you see the original color is white, and you see the level of fouling on these membranes. On the right here, you can different type of fouling, and this is usually seen in RO membranes, and these are scalants on the membrane that will damage the membrane performance. Fouling, however, can be controlled, and you can control it either by designing the system properly through better thermodynamics and better pre-treatment. So if this is, even with that, if this is not achievable, or you do not achieve the fouling control you want, you can also have remediation. So the fouling control can be mainly characterized into either avoidance type of activities, and that's through the proper design of the system, or remediation through cleaning. The cleaning can be hydraulic cleaning, chemical cleaning as well. So usually in membrane processes, you with the UF and membrane and MF submerged membranes, you have to do backwashing, backpulsing, and also once in a while you do chemical cleaning in order to do more deep cleaning and restore your membrane performance. So here it compares between the when you use the backwashing and when you can use the chemical cleaning. This is a very typical flux versus time chart for a membrane process. You see here, if you're dealing with clean water, you'll maintain the flux with time. However, in practice, when you're dealing with dirty water, the flux decline with time due to fouling, and with proper backwashing, you can restore the flux. You can't restore, usually you don't restore it fully, and this can be achieved through cleaning in the membrane. Okay, moving on, just to save time. This talks about different cleaning monitoring methods. And here we're talking about the main parameters affecting the membrane performance. You have of course, the feed water quality and salinity will affect the size and the type of your membrane being selected. Applying the pressure will also affect the performance of your membrane. Applying higher pressure might give you better yield. However, it might accelerate the fouling problem. The temperature also can be an issue, and also the recovery, which is related to the pressure. Higher recovery can be maintained. However, usually with higher recovery, the water quality deteriorates a little bit. Finally, the biggest takeaway that I want the audience to have is that membranes and membrane technology have a great potential in wastewater reuse and achieving the ultimate objective of 100% reuse of wastewater, municipal and industry. However, R&D efforts are still required, and this is mainly to control fouling, also developing more chemically and mechanically resistant membrane that can withstand the harsh environment when dealing with wastewater. And the possibility of replacing chemical cleaning with biological processes. Chemical cleaning usually accounts for a substantial cost. When you look at the cost of your membrane system, operational cost, and also it can with time affect the performance of your membrane. And also more efforts are needed to reduce the energy consumption of these processes. With that, thank you very much. And I just want also to you to leave with this very important sentence, that the water is always too precious to waste, and it is a finite precious resource that we all work towards utilizing it fully and not waste even at all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. All right. Maybe while I will, excuse me, Dr. Hassan, could you unmute for now? Yes.
I can't hear you. Hello?
We couldn't hear you clearly. No? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We are going to the next session for the discussion of the membranes, how to use for the water recycle. Maybe from the audience, there are someone who want to raise hand for the question. All right. There is someone who want to ask from the chat. Could you hear me well, Dr. Hassan?
I can't hear anything. I'm not sure if you hear me.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your voice really well. Okay. There is someone want to ask about is MBR technology the most method applied in Saudi Arabia for the wastewater treatment? It's from the chat.
Hello, can you hear me now?
No, not really. Your voice is very small, very small.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Better?
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Okay.
But still quite low, yeah?
Okay, I'll
All
try
right.
to raise my voice. But I could not hear you before. Was there a question?
Yes, there is a question. Is MBR technology the most method applied in Saudi Arabia for the wastewater treatment?
The thing is, here in Saudi, most of the plants are still using conventional treatment. However, for the new plants, there is a tendency, especially plants that are located within the cities, is to so we have now handful of new plants that are utilizing MBR.
All right, so MBR in Saudi Arabia is a new technology will be applied.
Yes.
Okay. The second question is microbial fuel cell microbial fuel cell technology applied in your country as a wastewater treatment method?
I am not aware of a large-scale plant utilizing microbial fuel cell as a treatment in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, all right. So maybe Ms. Dr. Simple Disabe want to ask more, or is it enough? Have answered your question?
Yes, it is enough.
It's okay, yeah?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, while we waiting for others to raise hand for the question, I would like to ask about the, as we know, that currently is the oil and gas has a very huge for the produced water. How they treat the water? Is it possible to treat the water so that we can take it as a tap water or a clean water?
Yes, this is actually this is my main job actually in Aramco, Dr. Jonah, as you know, is to work on this challenge. And maybe for those who are not familiar with this term produced water that Dr. Jonah just mentioned, this is the water that comes associated with oil during oil and gas production. When oil is produced from underground, it does not come as oil only. It comes with a huge amount of water as well. This water gets separated and then usually get disposed of through different methods. So the problem with this water is that it is the most complex type of water you can deal with. It's much worse than even municipal wastewater. It's the wastewater that has that can have high salinity, have dissolved gases, dissolved organics, all kind of things that you can think of. It's there, and still we in Aramco we're working on technologies, systems to even this water not to waste it, actually to reuse it back for at least industrial reuse. Maybe not to a level of potable reuse, that would be at a later stage, but at least reuse it, you know, for boiler, feed water, and wash water, all of kind of industrial water needs. So we are working on it. We actually have are working have a pilot to test different technologies, membrane-based technologies, and we believe that it is out there. It's all about, it can be achieved, but it's all about the cost. How much it's going to cost you to treat this water and whether this is feasible or not.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. I think we are short of time. Thank you for your explanation and your time to deliver in this session. I will return the time to our MC.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much to Mr. Suhartono and Dr. Hassan. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll skip the break, and we are now heading to fourth plenary session. This session will be part to 5 rooms, and the keynote speaker for this session is Professor Zuzana Lavakova from Slovak University of Agriculture and Nitra, and Dr. Ing M. Alexen Putra as moderator. At this session, the link room will be part in 5 rooms, and we welcome to participants to join to each room. Professor Lavakova and Mr. Alexin, time and place are yours.
Thank you. Before we begin with presentation, I will read the curriculum vitae of Professor Zuzana Lavakova.
Hello, I am here.
Yeah, okay.
Hello.
Professor Susana Hlavakova is currently professor at the Department of Physics, Faculty of Engineering, Slovak University of Agriculture in Nitra, Slovakia. She got multiple doctor degrees, first in Doctor of Natural Science from Comenius University in Bratislava, and the second is PhD in Biological Materials Moisture Content Measurement from Faculty of Engineering, Slovak University of Agriculture in Nitra. She also speaks multiple languages, English, French, Russian, Hungarian, Slovakian. And her research interest is electrical properties of biological materials, moisture content metrology, electrical properties utilization in agriculture and food processing. She got multiple awards and fellowship, member of editorial board of sciences from several international journals, member of scientific board of international conferences, writing papers in international journals in 48 papers, proceeding and presentation, almost 200, and so on and so on. I would like to invite Professor Susana to deliver us with her presentation. Please, the floor are yours.
Thank you very much for my introduction. And on the beginning, I would like to thank to Dean of the Faculty of Industrial Technology in Bandung, to Dr. Jono Suhartono, for the opportunity will be there, however, online. And also I would like to thank to Dani Rusiravan for a long time cooperation. And now my presentation about electrical properties application. I try to share my screen. The authors of this presentation are also my colleague, Magister Hlavac, and also our colleague from the Department of Technology and Quality of Plant Products, but we are from Slovak University of Agriculture. My presentation plan is electrical properties application. After it, some word about quality of foods, name of electrical properties, and also measurement methods. I would like to say some word about influencing factor, and after it, some measurement of liquid foods, fruits and vegetables, loose and granular materials, and on the finishing the conclusions. Electrical properties can be used in many areas and in the research also, and there are some application of electrical properties, for example, at drying. Electrical properties can be used ohmic drying, ohmic heating, and also at microwave radio frequency radiation. After it, also we can use them at the microbiological analysis, after also at food product screening, at quality control, for the properties of fruit and vegetable determination, for example, estimate the ripening state and also a defect in the fruit and vegetable, for example, the fruit bruising, and also in the bananas. Many authors measured the electrical properties of vegetable oils and use it for the water content determination and also acidity determination. And in the food industry can be used electrical properties, for example, for online monitoring for yogurt processing, and also impedance measurement can be used for optimal machine setting for ice cream preparation. And many authors use electrical properties for early detection of potential pathologies in the foods. Electrical properties can be applied and are essential for scientists and engineers at solving the problems in food preservation, processing, storage, marketing, consumption, and even after consumption. And food can be examined from various points of view. For example, adding of energy, interaction with human senses, its efficacy, and promoting human health and well-being. Also, we can use in practice because the practice is needed simple and accurate and low-cost measurement techniques. And electrical properties are these properties which can be used in practice. And also we can use some models and the correlation between electrical properties and different properties of foods. Various definition of food quality exist in the literature. For example, it is degree of fitness for use of or the satisfaction level of consumers, or is absence of defects or a degree of excellence of the foods.
Excuse me, Professor Susanna. The screen is static.
Oh, I don't know why. I don't know why. Excuse me. And now, no.
No, they are not moving. It's only one page.
I try to share Izwan again. And now?
Still the same. We can only see one page. The first page only.
I have the 5 slide of this, yeah. And on my screen it is clear. You can see it. You cannot see it.
No, the screen is not moving.
Oh. I try to share it once again. It will be good. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Now,
yes, we can see page 5 right now.
Yes, yes. The mainly used definition of quality is there. The food quality is the overall set of binding properties and characteristics of a product that give it the ability to meet the specific needs of the consumer. I hope this is clear definition. This figure was very interesting for me, and I choose it for this presentation. And you can see that the properties of food is influenced by molecular structure of food materials, and also the environmental parameters influence the food materials as temperature, frequency, and also storage time. And the molecular structure also influence the physical and chemical properties of foods and electrical properties mainly. The quality parameters of food can be divided of the external and internal parameters. You can see it, the external is color, appearance, firmness, and so on, and internal the taste, value, aroma, and so on. Our task was to find correlation between the electrical properties and food quality parameters, and we tried in our experimental work. The food materials are very non-homogeneous. From microscopic and also macroscopic point of view, as I said, from microscopic point of view, very important is molecular structure, because the food materials are very complex in their composition, properties, and behavior. And also the biological origin of materials influence these properties. And from microscopic point of view, in electrical practice, we can say that inside of cell is conductive. There are the ion type of conductivity, and cell membrane are not conductors. In this step, the change of current can be investigated on these cells. From macroscopic point of view, the food properties is influenced by properties of each type of tissue, by density and structure, arrangement of the cells. The important role have the presence of water and its distribution in the material, different binding energy in each bond, water on the material after its sorption properties, and also temperature and density of the material. In the case of the porous material, we can name the bulk density of the food material and also porosity and the size and distribution of pores. In the case of the loose material or granular material, we can name gappiness, contact surface between the parts, deployment of the parts in the pack, size of part, and also properties of air which is trapped between the parts and which is trapped between the parts or in the pores, and the relative humidity of air and temperature of air. The electrical properties characterize the transport of charge carriers in the materials or the propagation of the electromagnetic waves in the materials. As I said, we can use them in many areas of human activity, and the reason is that this measurement of electrical properties is quick and relatively simple, and it is non-destructive testing. Electrical properties are used in determination of material, other characteristics, and as I said, the biggest application have at the moisture content measurement. But we can use the electrical properties also at the quality of agricultural product during harvesting, and also food during storage, processing, and trading determined. And the electrical properties are mainly used for moisture content of food determination. There are the electrical properties. We can name the conductance, conductivity, electrical resistance, resistivity after it, and alternate current, impedance, admittance, and also permittivity, relative permittivity, complex permittivity. The real part of complex permittivity is the permittivity of the material, and the imaginary part describes dielectric losses in the material. After it is, for example, loss angle, tangent of loss angle, Maxwell relaxation constant, and also penetration depth is measured for some materials. And in this slide, you can see the measurement technique, which are appropriate for any particular application. And on the beginning, I would like to say that this choose some measurement technique depend on the frequency of interest, nature of the material to be measured, and also on the degree of required accuracy. We can classify the measurement method according to material. If the material is solid, liquid, porous, granular, of 1 grain measurement, or pack of seed, and so on. After it, there are classification according to sensor. If it is capacitor, open resonator, coaxial probe, of scattering measurement. According to frequency, if we use direct current or alternate current, radio or microwave frequency, and we can classify also method according to accuracy. Laboratory devices has higher accuracy as portable instruments. Direct measurement can be used for various techniques for the measurement. There are Bridges method for frequency up to 100 Hertz after its substitution method from 100 Hertz to 100 megahertz, resonant methods from 100 kilohertz to 100 megahertz. After it, there is the Q meter, for example. After it, pulse method in this frequency range to 10 gigahertz. There are, for example, time domain reflectometry method and gram penetrating radar method, which are used for the soil moisture determination. Also, we can name the airborne satellite active radar method and passive microwave method, and at the frequency of 1 gigahertz. Now I would like to say some word about influencing factors, and the chemical composition has the influence electrical properties. You can see in this figure the changes in crude protein content and in the relative permittivity of wheat greens during long time storage. The greens was stored in the concrete silo with active ventilation. And you can see that with time of storage, the crude protein content is decreasing, and also the relative permittivity of these green were decreased. We use the quadratic model for description of this curve, and we found the correlation between the crude protein content in greens and there is a relative permittivity. The coefficient of determination has high value. Influencing factor, the chemical composition can be seen also in this slide. We measured the various chocolate with added values, and you can see the figure for electrical capacity versus frequency dependencies. The higher capacity has the chocolate with candied pulp of butternut pumpkin. After it is curved for control chocolate, and after it the chocolate with the dried capuchin and with candied young spruce shoots, and the dried peppermint leaves, and the lower capacity has the chocolate with candied yosta fruits. The curves for spruce shoots and peppermint leaves is overlap and the higher frequencies, but the lower frequencies about 50 kilohertz, we can distinguish these two curves, and you can see that the added value in this chocolate caused the different curves and different values of capacity, and we can use the capacity of the chocolate for different things, some added value in the chocolate. After influencing factor is the moisture content. As I said, it is the significant factor. And on this picture, you can see the conductivity versus moisture content with the basis for Amaranthus paniculatus seeds. And conductivity increase with the moisture content, and according to power function, power model with high coefficient of determination. And you can see that these changes from 12 to 35% in moisture content influence the conductivity, and conductivity is in the range of 2 orders of magnitude. And also the temperature influence the electrical properties. On this picture, you can see the temperature dependency of poppy seed resistivity at 2 moisture content, and the curve for higher moisture content has lower value of resistivity, and we use the exponential model for description of this decrease, and we can say that we can use the Arrhenius formula for the description of these curves. Temperature influence on not only the electrical properties, but density, structural arrangement of the properties, thermal properties, rheologic properties, and so on. The last influencing factor, which I would to say you, is the frequency, and you can see the dependency of real and imaginary part of permittivity versus frequency, and you can see the changes on these curves. It is caused by polarization mechanism in the materials. It is ionic conductivity in a lower frequency, about megahertz. After it is dipolar or dipolar polarization, and higher frequency, about gigahertz, it is atomic polarization, and the frequency about in the ultraviolet range, it is electronic polarization. After removing the food material from the electromagnetic field, the dispersion occurs in this material, and it is alpha, beta, or gamma dispersion. Now about our measurement, but also about the measurement of many scientists in the world which use electrical properties, and they can be used in many areas, and I mentioned. For example, electrical impedance was used in the detection of chemical substitute in liquid foods. Impedance spectroscopy was used, the quality of tea determination, and microwave measurement was used at the detection of oil adulteration, and some found correlation between electrical impedance and chemical composition of milks, and the dielectric properties in the radio and microwave frequency range was used for new method for determining the content of water content in the milk. Also, some authors used measured the dielectric properties of apple juices in many range of frequencies. We measured the green teas, various green teas, and you can see the frequency dependencies of these green teas for the conductivity. And we use the Himalaya tea from Nepal. After it, Yunnan tea, excuse me, from China, Seak tea from Korea, and cake tea for Japan. This two tea was extra organic. And the tea was, the preparation of tea are there. On the first step was leaf homogenization. After it was prepared the extract from 1 gram of leaves and 100 milliliter of water. The extraction, the time of extraction was 10 minutes, and after it was filtration, and we measured the extract. You can see that the higher conductivity has the Nepal green tea, which we can say that this tea has many ions, and other tea has lower content of ions. The China tea and Korea tea is the graph for this tea is overlap in the lower frequencies, but the frequencies to 200 kilohertz, we can see the differentiation between these curves. And Japan tea has the lower conductivity, the lower content of ions in this tea. We can distinguish this tea according to their conductivity. After it, we measured also beers.
Probably you can accelerate your presentation since we have
also beers, and you can see that it is the sour ale beers, and we can distinguish the wort and after it the final beers. And we used also electrical properties for measurement of cows and sheep milk, mineral waters, wine. And we also measured the time dependence of conductivity during the mast maturation. The electrical properties can be used also at the fruit and vegetable, other properties determination, mainly at the moisture content, at the determination of internal disorders, and so on. You can see some authors which use the electrical properties for determination the fruit and vegetable characteristics. We measured the thin layer carrot slices, and we found the correlation between impedance of these carrot slices and the drying time, and also the moisture ratio. We use the power function from description of these curves. We also found the correlation between electrical properties and the maturity of the blueberry fruit. This first curve is for immature fruits, red curves from mature fruits, and blue for our ripe fruits. And the loose material, many authors use the electrical properties of moisture content determination, and also for mechanical damage determination of for germination assessment, and for the presence of insect in the grains or seeds determination also. We measure the conductivity of ground value added pasta samples with added value also. This is the conductivity that dependency on frequency, and the higher conductivity was for pasta with elderberry, after it with carrot, and the curve with nettle and control pasta was overlapped. But these two pasta, value-added pasta, we can distinguish from control. We also measured pergam, variously treated sugar beet seed, value-added Lindt biscuit, and so on. And you can see the differences between curves for frequency dependency of resistance, for bread slices, for various addition of noric black, oat flour, and also we found some correlation between the addition of this oat flour. We can distinguish the content of addition in bread. On the finishing is the conclusion, and we can say that the application of physical method in agriculture and food processing led to the creation of the scientific fields called agrophysics and food physics. Physics can provide many types of properties, methods, and procedures that can be used in these fields. And it is very important, usually is necessary to measure the electrical properties under the particular condition of interest to obtain reliable data. On this figure, you can see the number of papers indexed in the Web of Science during the years from 2000 to 2021, and you can see the number of papers is growing. The year 2021, I hope on the finishing of this year, the number of papers will be higher than in 2020. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Susanna Lavakova. Since we have sort of time, I will limit only one question, if there is any. Is there any question from the floor? from the audience? Yeah, it is an interesting presentation. It is multidisciplinary approach, I think, electronica and food technology. I think I will give back the time to organizator.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Srapakova and Dr. Alexin. Ladies and gentlemen, the last agenda today is free discussion and networking event. We welcome Dr. Dani Rusirawan and Professor Farkas to hold the discussion.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
I'm just wondering, Donny, are you here around also?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ututi. What today? It's the. I think there is a.
I'm sorry,
Parallel?
Pak Dani, Mr. Dani. We still have one session is
Yes.
panel
Sure.
for
Okay.
plenary session. So we welcome to all of the participants to join each room. There are 5 rooms, and yeah, we will finish for this session at 4:45 o'clock.
Okay.
After that we will come to Mr. Dani Rusirawan and Professor Farkas to hold the free discussion.
Okay,
But,
sure.
yeah.
Thank you, Ututi.
Yeah, the only question is how can we separate, because we are joining right now, that how will be the room selection?
Yeah. Okay, I think
because we are now the first, we did not sort it out like you before.
Yes. 45 minutes, I think, yeah. But you can choose, Professor.
Or remain here?
Yes, I think we can remain here. Just for the preparation, I think. Hello, the committee. It's possible if we and Professor Farkas stay here. Or this is using for the room.
Room 1, yeah. So here we are.
Yes,
the room
for you, it's okay. The room 1, Professor. Okay.
So the author here